All right, welcome to the brand new EVGA Workshop in PC Building Simulator. This is Free Build Extreme Episode 5. I am your host, JVN from the YouTube channel, JVN Gaming. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be Episode 5 of Free Build Extreme, like I said, and we're going to check out the brand new EVGA Workshop that was just released as part of the 1.11 update to PC Building Simulator. So we've had several of these vendor manufacturer specific workshops. You know, we've had Razer, we've had Asus ROG, we've had NZXT, we've done Overclockers UK, not exactly a manufacturer workshop. We've done Oris. Who else we got? Is that it? That's it, right? And now we've got EVGA. So this has been, it feels like maybe like a long time coming, I don't know, but I'm excited that it's here. So we're gonna take a quick tour of the workshop, and then we're gonna do a Free Build Extreme PC build in the workshop, as we have to. I mean, we gotta do it. So let's take a quick tour of the workshop here. So the entrance here, EVGA's logo, the big E. We got some stuff, you know, we got their cards all over. We've got a few things going on. Their honeycomb kind of theme, the same thing they're using like the back plates of some of their newer graphics cards, kind of scattered about the workshop, and we see kind of their like pastel color theme going on. And we're going to actually incorporate that into the build that we do a little bit today, which will be fun. And then we've got teasing us around the workshop many of EVGA's graphics cards, including their Kingpin 3090s, which are, well, they're amazing. And they're actually not in the game yet. Hopefully someday, right? But for now, 3090s from Kingpin are not in the game, but they are scattered about the workshop to make us jealous and covetous. If we come up here, what's actually pretty interesting, so we have our usual, I guess first of all, we have our usual workbenches. We've got our 3 workbenches plus like the main like big workbench that has a full-size mouse mat and all that. But then at the corners here, we have some graphics cards. So here's a 2070 Super. So this is, you know, obviously the EVGA's like 20 series graphics card design. What's cool is we can interact with these and they actually explode out. Pretty cool, right? So we see the sort of like semi-transparent smoke shroud. The fans continue to spin. We've got the heat sinks, the heat pipes, the actual PCB here, and then the back plate. And then we can click it again, and it will reassemble, which is kind of fun. The heat pipes go back in, running through the actual the thin stack there, which is kind of cool. So we've got that there, 2070 Super on that side, and then on this side, this was like a 30 series card. So this looks like a For the Win card. For the Win 30 series card. I can't tell if it's a 3080 or a 3090. If I was a little bit taller, I could probably read it, but I can't because I can't quite see where it says. But this one explodes out the same way. Slightly different construction. The fin stack's a little more substantial. Heat pipe's a little more substantial. But there you go, and then you can collapse it back again. So that's kind of fun to see their stuff. And then on the big screen here, we've got kind of a rolling advertisement for EVGA's, one of their keyboards, which has actually just been added to the game. So he goes through, talks about, you know, the optical key switches, the magnetic palm rest. It talks about like this weird little scanner thing it has to detect presence as you sit down. We've got volume controls, you know, keyboard stuff. It's cool. And so that's the Z20. There's also the Z15. The Z20 is in the game though, just added. So we can go over here and switch it out. The Z20 just added. So we got the Z20 with wrist rest, and then without. It's the same keyboard, just with and without wrist rest. And then we've got their new mouse from EVGA, the X17. So pretty cool stuff there. All right, so we're in the EVGA workshop, right? So I think it's only appropriate that we do kind of like an ultimate EVGA PC. It just feels right. Plus, we've got some other interesting components that actually incorporate EVGA. They're going to make this build even better than it could have been before the 1.11 update. So let's dive in and do our best to create the ultimate EVGA PC. It's not going to be as much EVGA as completely possible, but it's going to be pretty close. So we're going to start with a case from EVGA. We've really got... There's multiple options here, but really effectively it's 2 options. This big DG 84, 85, 86, 87 case, it's all the same, just slightly different. Or the DG 76, 77, something, whatever. It's also very similar. So really there's 2 cases here, effectively, sort of, with slight variations. I'm going to go with the big one because I want to do some cool water cooling, and we'll explain why. There's lots of good reasons to do water cooling, but we're going to check out some water-cooled parts today that are going to make this build really, really special. So we're going to do the DG87 full tower as kind of the top of the line. Actually, not super sure what the difference is between the DG86 and the DG87. They look extremely similar, but we're going to go with the 87 because that's a larger number, so I feel good about it. Let's remove the side panel, and as well as the back panel. We can pull off the front panel here. We're going to pull out these Mortoni fans that are installed by default. This is going to be a pretty cool build. And actually, I'm kind of kicking around. I might move. Is the lighting better up here? I can't tell if... Maybe the lighting's the same everywhere. It seems dark over here. I don't know. I started building in one of the other cases and decide, nope, I'm not into it. We're not going to do that. So let's actually come up here. Is that better? Is it brighter? Maybe a little bit. I'm not sure. We're gonna take out that beauty panel. I'm not gonna put that beauty panel back in because I don't need beauty panels. We can remove this bottom control panel piece. It's pretty cool too because it should show our CPU temp, I think, once we get it all built. We're gonna take out this dust filter, remove these Mortoni fans because we're gonna put something different in here. And there's one up here as well. So that's pretty much the case pulled largely apart. I'm also going to remove these drive bays. So there's 3.5 inch drive bays as part of each of these. So we're not going to need those. We're not going to use those. We're not going to do that. So let's get into motherboards. Now, new parts as part of the 1.11 update help us out here because we got 2 new motherboards as part of that update, and they're both from EVGA. We got their Z490 for the win Wi-Fi and their Z490 Dark. We're going to use the Z490 Dark, which is a pretty high-end board from EVGA, and it's obviously going to support the newest Intel CPUs, anything LGA 1200 socket, so that would be the 10,000 series of CPUs or the 11,000 series of CPUs from Intel. 11,000 is not in the game yet. It's really just barely been released. It's also not that interesting, actually. People, you know, it's not that great. Intel's come figure out, please. But the 10,000 series is in here. So we're going to go with the Z490 Dark. It is a pretty cool board. It's pretty interesting. So you'll see the CPU socket is mounted at 90 degrees. It's 90-degree turn. Usually the socket is the CPU is going to fit just vertically in it normally. This is mounted like an AMD socket is. So it's turned 90 degrees to the left. So it's a little bit interesting. I've seen that happen before with some Intel boards, but it's not super common. So kind of interesting. Also, what's interesting is for being a high-end motherboard, only 2 DIMM slots for memory. And I am not sure what EVGA's reasoning is for that. It might be because like this is a pretty like overclocking for like focus board, and a lot of times they're just gonna say stick to 2 DIMMs for best overclocking performance. But I am speculating. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's interesting. Okay, so CPUs, the top of the line LGA 1200 here in the game is the 10900K. Obviously the 11900K would be marginally better. I know that I've heard that like the 11,000 CPUs do overclock better than the 10,000, but other than that, they're not like super earth-shattering or anything. But anyway, 10900K, so still no slouch. That is 10-core, 20-thread CPU. Pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull a thermal paste on there just to make sure I don't forget to do it because it's easy to forget. And then let's see. Wait, this motherboard supports. Now I gotta remember. This motherboard. I'm trying to think of the memory speed. 4,800. Oh, 4,800 megahertz. Whoa, holy cow. And I don't remember. Is there 4,800? Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do to make sure we're supporting the fastest memory we can. We're gonna do Trident ZRGB 8 gig, 4,800 megahertz. Not that we're that concerned with overclocking or anything like that, really, but I just feel like, why not? Let's do it. Okay, so that's our CPU. We got our memory in there. Cool. I want to start thinking about how we're going to do the cooling setup and everything, but let's just get a power supply in here really quick. Sticking with our EVGA theme. Power supply, thank you. EVGA. We're going to go with, just to cover our bases, you know, just to make sure we're good, we're going to go with EVGA Supernova 1600 T2 power supply, but I got to remove these like brackets, of which there are multiple, because there's this case cover thing and then the power supply bracket. It's kind of interesting. Okay, 1600 watt, big boy, gigantic power supply. You know, it only costs a cool $450 for power supply, so you know, no big deal there. Let's get the brackets put back in for the power supply. So we'll do this bracket first, and then this kind of outer power supply bracket cover thing that I've already lost track of. There it is. It doesn't really look like anything. There, okay, that makes sense. All right, cool. So that's good. We're going to leave everything like that. And then let's start thinking... Actually, okay, really quick. I want to get storage in there because I don't want to forget about it. It's easy to forget. What's kind of interesting about this board and where the M.2 drives mount, and also where they are in relation to how the graphics card installs, is that... okay, so there are some chunky M.2s in the game with like really big, thick heat sinks. Let me think. What is the copper? Aorus one. Yeah, so the Aorus, they have these big chunky copper heatsinks, right? So there are two M.2 slots, but you can only install that down here. Because if you do it up here, you're going to interfere with the graphics card. If you're doing like any typical 2-slot graphics card. So you can only put the chonker down here. And that goes for this Aorus one, or Corsair has one with a pretty big heatsink. So for that reason, I'm going to stick with the tried and true VP4100 M.2s. These are PCIe Gen 4, of which Z490 and the 10,000 series Intel CPUs can support. So, wait, is that right? Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. I think Intel figured it out in 10th gen, right? I hope. Anyway, we're putting them in there, so there they go. So it's kind of interesting. They're sandwiched very close to each other, but good to go. Okay, so that's that. Let's get cooling figured out. Now, as far as CPU cooling, EVGA does have CPU coolers in the game. They have an air cooler, and they have some AIOs. So they have a 120, 240, and 280 AIO. No 360, not in the game at least. And they have this air cooler. I'm not going to use any of them, but I wanted to point out that they're here. You know, as part of the all EVGA build, or the ultimate EVGA build that's not going to be completely everything EVGA. This is basically the only reason. We're not going to use this because I need the headers to do custom water cooling, and we're going to talk about why we're going to do custom water cooling in a little bit after we do it. So let's do some custom water cooling. And so with that, I'm gonna do EK's 360 RGB rads because it'd be fun. This case needs a little bit of lighting. It's very dark. So we can do a 360 rad in the front. And we can do a 360 rad up top. This is the benefit we have with a very large case like this one. EVGA's other case in the game is much more compact and would not support this many radiators. So there's that. Now, Reservoir, we're going to do... I'm going to do Corsair's... I'm going to do their RGB pump res here. They did add a new pump res combo from Corsair here. It's very compact and it's cool. It would be great for like a mini ITX build. We're not going to use it for this one. I really wanted to use the Ryzen Tech Antilla D5 RBW as RGB, but the inlet, the inlet is in the very top, and the very top of that inlet is going to bump right against my radiator, and so it will install, but I won't be able to actually pipe plumb to it. So we're not going to do that as much as I want to, because it's a cool reservoir I never get to use because it's very tall. So anyway, we're going to use Corsairs because it's going to mount right here, snugly, beautifully, just barely, right in front of our front radiator and fans. We got lucky there. It actually looks good, and it fits well. We'll be able to plumb to that, no problem. So we'll have our fittings up here to the left here for the top radiator, at the top of our front radiator, and then we'll go in and out of the front of this reservoir. You actually can't go in the top, even though they're there, I think. I think that's right. Okay, cool. So we've got most stuff. Let's real quick, let's get case fans in, because I don't want to forget. And we have a couple new case fans in the game from the update, and they're all from GamerStorm. So they have a TF120S in both black and white. And then they have these new ones, the MF120 GT, which actually are pretty cool looking. So I'm going to install 2 of them here in this back panel that can kind of swing open and closed. And this is going to work well because I'm going to need these fans to be able to daisy chain the top radiator in. So that's going to work well. We'll leave that open for now. But now we're ready to start like actually getting the water cooling going here. So, let's get a CPU block on. We have a couple new CPU blocks in the game as of 1.11, which is pretty exciting. So we already were through Corsair stuff here, but now we have EK's Supremacy Edge blocks and then the Supremacy Evo blocks. And so the Edge blocks are pretty cool. They have like, some of them have like a two-tone color, so this is like kind of a clear and black. We've got clear and red. We've got clear and silver. We've got black, and black and red, and black and silver. So that's kind of neat. Those actually have a pretty cool look. And then the Evo blocks, we've got kind of a smoked clear, sort of a plexi red smoked thing, a smoked blue. So those are also pretty sharp looking. And they've got like kind of like an engraved surface or something. So anyway, kind of cool. I'm gonna go with this. Let's see. All black? Let's do all black. Yeah, and real edgy. Look at that. It's nice. Actually does look pretty cool. Yeah, and you got like the cuts in the RAM. You've got like some of these like sharp lines, and yeah, I like this. This is looking real good. And then we're gonna brighten the whole thing up with a little bit of RGB and kind of bring it together. And we're gonna do a little bit of custom cabling too, I think, because like EVGA's theme a lot of times is like black with kind of this like bright cyan teal color. So we're gonna kind of go with that. So see that black and like the teal cyan. So we're gonna go with that for kind of our like, EVGA build theme. Okay, so we've got everything in here except for graphics cards. So what's new with graphics cards? Well, there's a lot new with graphics cards, actually. There's a version 1.11. We got a bunch of new air-cooled cards, which is one thing, which is great. We got our first AIB cards for the RX 6000 series, which is super cool. And we got some more cards from Colorful. We got some good stuff there. So a few new air cooling cards additions there. But what's really exciting is we got some new water-cooled GPUs. So it used to be that the most kind of top spec water-cooled GPUs in the game was the 2080 Ti, and we had several versions of them. We had Aorus version, we had Zotac had one, we had this AlphaCool one, and we had some EVGA ones, right? And we also had a 2080 Super. Now we finally got our first 30 series water-cooled cards, and our first RX 6000 water-cooled cards. So that's pretty cool. So because they've added now Corsair's water cooling graphics card blocks into the game, we've got them for a bunch of different cards. So we've got them for reference cards, for NVIDIA's reference cards, their founders cards, as well as the RX 6000 cards. And then we've actually got Corsair blocks that go on some of the partner cards. So we've got Corsair blocks that go specifically on the Ventus cards from MSI or the Strix cards from Asus ROG. So that's pretty cool. And then EVGA has added their own water-cooled cards for RTX 30 series. And so that's super exciting. So we're going to use those for this build, obviously. And so we've got their For the Win 3 Ultra water-cooled card, and we've also got the XC3 Ultra water-cooled card. So the For the Win 3s are the higher end. So that's what we're going to go with today. So we're going to do a couple of the RTX 3090 For the Win 3 Ultras, and they are beautiful. So let's put those in here. As soon as we, remove these PCI slots covers. And here, and I think the next one goes here. So, okay, back down we go. Let's grab a 3090 For the Win 3 Ultra. And so there you go. That is EVGA's water block on the For the Win 3 3090. So it keeps the back plate from the For the Win 3 3090, and then we get this like very translucent water block to go on it. And we can install a second one, or we can install an XT3. Look at how dorky this looks, because it's a lot smaller. Don't you touch me or don't talk to me or my son ever again. I think it's like something like that. I'm not sure. Memes. But yeah, so we're gonna stick with the ones that actually match. But there you go. That's two of EVGA's For the Win 3 water-cooled cards in the game. So first 30 series water-cooled cards, first RX 6000 water-cooled cards in the game. Super exciting. Only disappointment for me right now is that we have to use this SLI bridge. So, hopefully we get like a really cool EVGA version that works soon. That's my only downside right now, but there is no way for me to get around that. So that's going to be basically the setup. So now let's plumb everything up. We're going to do hardline clear tubing. Fittings are going to be probably just black. I think that's probably going to be good. Let's just do black. Okay, so we got radiator into reservoir, reservoir into graphics card into top graphics card into CPU, CPU into top radiator, and radiator into front radiator. Sound good? That's going to be our loop order, I think. Now, of course, we could go radiator, reservoir. It doesn't matter. Loop order is not really that important. So, all right, so let's do it. All right, so loop's almost done here. We've got pretty straight lines coming up here into this radiator, from radiator up to here, snapping through to the CPU. You can't probably see it super well without coolant, and we'll be able to see it better when it has coolant. And then pretty straight, nice little 90 there. We just need to come out of our bottom graphics card and back to our reservoir, and we will be in business. So let's get that snapped up together, looking good, pretty good. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so now we can put some coolant in it. So we're gonna go again for that black and kind of cyan theme. So with that, let's do some cyan opaque coolant, except I gotta actually connect everything. I forget. If I put that in there without if I try to put that in there without the reservoir connected, it'll say the reservoir doesn't have power. So actually, let's connect things first. We're going to go with, as far as cables, ribbon braided plain cyan cables. So we're in that black and cyan theme throughout. So now that I have the pump reservoir, I could actually I could put the coolant through it, but we're just going to connect everything at this point. We've started, we might as well finish. Get our motherboard connected, our EPS power. Let's do our graphics cards. Each of them has 3 separate power connectors, 3 separate 8-pin connectors, which is kind of wild. We'll get those connected, and this is going to be for our case. Connect the power button and whatnot. Let's bring our rear fans to the motherboard. This fan will daisy chain to this fan, and our top radiator will daisy chain back there. And now everything should be connected. Yep, we've got all of our fans spinning. Things are good. Okay, let's fill our loop with coolant, and then we can start setting up our OS, get our RGB configured, and take a look at where we're at. So what am I doing? Coolant, yes, I will take you. Cyan, coolant, opaque, there it goes. I think it's gonna look pretty good. It's gonna look very EVGA up in here. Arguably, one of the only real distractions from the EVGA theme is EVGA's insistence on putting red highlights on their backplates. And if these were the air-cooled versions of the 4-Win-3 card, the very, like much complained about, like, red lips that they put on both ends of the 4-Win-3 cards. I know that you can, like, get them blacked out now, but yeah, a lot of issues with that when it came out. But there you go. That's all the coolant in the loop. So now I can go ahead and get my operating system set up, and then we can take a look at the RGB and see how we're doing. So we got everything set up here and ready to go. Rand 3D Mark. What does an Ultimate EVGA computer get you? It gets you a 26,645. That's with the 4,800 megahertz RAM set at XMP. So we're running at 4,800 megahertz. Our 10900K is running at 5.3 gigahertz, which is crazy. But that is the clock. So CPU score 16,006. Our CPU is holding our score back quite a bit, which is pretty normal. Graphics score 30,187. As far as temperatures, 2360 rads apparently keeps your CPU still quite warm. 5.3 gigahertz, almost 90 C, running OCCT Infinite Test here. Each graphics card is at about 76. Not quite getting to 77 degrees Celsius. So not exactly like super cool for 2360 rads. Granted, like that is a lot of TDP in there, to be honest. With two 3090s and a 10900K at 5.3 gigahertz. That's not like a super, that's kind of a tall order to actually keep cool. Let's get our lighting set. I'm thinking static and just a nice, beautiful, cool cyan. See, look how EVGA that is, right? Looks pretty good. So now we can put it back together. We can put this control panel back on, which should 29. Oh, well, that's interesting. Wait, that is showing. I was like, our CPU was much hotter, but that should be showing our. I thought that was showing our CPU temp. Well, I'll see if that moves. I thought it was a CPU temp. Maybe it's not. Okay, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that number means. Huh. I always thought it showed CPU temp. It's going up slowly. 32, 33. Ooh. Oh, I bet it's case temp, which is actually even cooler. Because case temp is a thing in this game, because I learned that from the esports expansion. Because you'll have some jobs in the esports expansion where they ask you to keep the case temps under a certain level, which is actually pretty challenging. So this case would make that very nice because it can be a little bit hard to monitor it. And there it would be right in front of you. So yeah, case temp. That's cool. So there it is, all put back together except for that front panel. I'm not going to put it on because it's kind of smoked. But that is building the ultimate EVGA PC inside of the brand new EVGA Workshop. And this has been episode 5 of Free Build Extreme. I've been your host, JVN. I run the YouTube channel JVN Gaming. If you want to check me out, there is a link down in the description. Would love to have you come over to my channel and watch along with me. So either way, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos of Free Build Extreme or any of the other content creator videos that we've been putting on the official PC Building YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe to the official PC Building Simulator YouTube channel. And thank you again. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.